The initial source of inspiration that I had was working with like idioms or some sort of figurative expression that either has a body part or movement or action word, doing like a physical slash literal interpretation of it. I'm also really interested in reflecting poetic structures with movement. So things like repetition. I really like poetry where it starts with I don't know and then I don't know if and then it kind of like adds a word each time or something like that. Looking at what that would look like if it's translated into movement where you kind of start off with a phrase and then you do it again, but you add something else to the end.
So you want to make a filmed kind of dance piece that explores lyricism with idioms and like words that like tack onto each other, and how it can be reflected in movement, kind of essentially. That's what I'm getting.
Yeah, I mean, like you said it 100 times better than how the word vomit that I just gave you. So.
Oh my God, no, I'm so excited. That sounds like a really exciting piece. I can't wait.
Yeah, I want to use like a 360-degree camera. So you get like the full, but you can move your cursor around, or I think there's like the app where you can basically kind of choose where to look. Do you know where any place that we would be able to film something like that? Like
100%. Do you know the Annex Theater in Toronto? It's like a theater that has like seats around it. Like, okay, so think of this as like a bird's eye view. Your bird's eye view. I'm the theater. The stage is up here. There are two stairwells that go up like this, and then there's like rafters around here like this. But then the stage being here, there are seats around here like this. Actions speak louder than words. How does that translate to dance and poetry?
Do you usually get together and create at the same time, or are we kind of like, do you usually work in like a back and forth kind of way?
On a project like this, where it requires a lot of reflection and thought, especially at the beginnings, I feel like at this time, it would be very much, why don't we like sit with the ideas that we talked about for a little bit and then like think about it, dwell on it. I am someone who, if I get an idea, I'll write it down. So like when it comes to poetry, I'll write it immediately. I say, throw up that Google Drive. Whenever you get inspiration, throw something in there. Maybe shoot me a message, be like, oh, I threw something in there. Can you read it? And I'll read it and I'll give you an opinion. They also added something called a Google Jamboard. I don't know if you've ever used that.
No.
I find it's very useful in Google Drive. If you find an image, you can just throw it up on the Jamboard. And then like we can link things that mean something. Or if you see a YouTube video, I love using Google Jamboard for collaborative work because it isn't just like a Google Doc. Number one of the Jamboard, there's 3. Number 1, it'll be a collaborative, like just throw things on there. Number 2 will be your Jamboard. And then number 3 will be mine. And then we can kind of like, you have your kind of Jamboard so I can see how you work too. So I can see your thought process. And then you can see my thought process. And then like we can see where we combine ideas. So I was looking at the Jamboard. Like it seems like, we're both drawn towards a circle idea. So it also plays very well into this camera idea where you have the 360 camera. The cool thing about doing the Jamboard is I feel like I'm watching you kind of come up with actual theme. So now that we kind of have like a theme, the idea of like circles and what goes around comes around, like I was looking at your dance and your movements of how to represent that through body movements.
When you were just talking about circles in your writing, I was wondering if there's like structure of writing poems that can kind of also mimic that, of kind of like having it develop and then kind of the ending is very similar to the beginning. So it's like
that's what I was playing with too. So I've always, I don't know if you've read a poem where if you read it and then it says read it now backwards.
Yeah,
you know those poems where you kind of go and it means 2 different things.
Yeah.
I've always wanted to write one of those poems. I've always struggled, but how cool would it be if we wrote a poem that meant something one way, but then something else the other way when you read it backwards, that we can translate with movement as well. Well, translate into movement and like create with it. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I think that's really cool.
It's just the poem has changed because now it's the same motions, just backwards. And you realize it all means the same thing. You just
Yeah.
realize you're looking at it from a different perspective.
Like the core structure of it is the same, but then now it's like kind of corresponding to like a different line or a different,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. And like some things might be opposite and some things might be like this similar, like the first line and the last line. Hmm.
No, I like that idea. That's really smart because, like, yeah, like when is it? You say it would line up perfectly where, like, if you're doing the movement for "I rise each morning and fall in the night," in hindsight, one sees a humbling sequence, and then
Mm-hmm.
that line translated to the choreo just repeated would be, "But a spark of cognizant light within a person wrapped in
Yeah.
overwhelming dark." So it like it's completely different words set to the
Yeah.
same motion, which ultimately brings it to meaning the same thing, which is super cool.
Yeah.
I really
Yeah,
like that.
that's really cool. Ooh.
I didn't like that's the cool way it lined up. I don't know if it works perfectly every single time.
Right, but it doesn't have to, right? Like, but it's like kind of cool when there are those moments. I wonder if there is anything else that lines up. I haven't really thought about how it's going to start yet, but it's kind of like a phrase that somehow ends up on the floor, and then I'm kind of like going backwards, and then when you say I'm a prisoner to gravity, that's when I would stop moving. So I'm a prisoner to gravity. You won't persuade me that. I can hear this within my heart. What goes around comes around. Gravity lives within.
Oh, I see how you like translate. Okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that. Yeah.
What comes after that?
I really liked how you used the like whole circle and how we said like what goes around comes around. It seems like the beginning choreo was very inspired by that because your beginning movements were very circular, very like going around, spinning, and then all of a sudden like the lower half of the poem, it seems like
Mm-hmm.
everything down there like violent enigmatic feelings and person wrapped in overwhelming dark. It was very like consolidated and like isolated and like not as like free flowing per se, but it's kind of like you
Mm-hmm.
going back into yourself to reflect.
Should we just maybe do it like the top to bottom version?
Sure.
Okay.
I am a prisoner to gravity. You won't persuade me that. I can hear this within my heart. What goes around comes around.
Oh, as the sun appears in our circular gaze, that part I think could be a little bit faster.
Okay.
Yeah, so what I'm doing for that is like, so as the sun appears in our circular gaze, no, this is mysterious ways. And then laws of the universe is like that little, like going from here to the little switch. Laws
Okay.
of the universe. The moon, right?
Yep.
It's like this like reach, and then soon is when I will kind of invert it, where I will,
Soon, for I will find my flaws one day.
yeah, and then it'll stop there.
Soon, for I will find my flaws one day. Gravity lives within myself, but a spark of cognizant light within. A soul has not yet fallen amiss. This is the truth of the universe. Gravity lives within myself and holds my freedom.
Yeah.
That looked really good, Joyce.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so pretty. Gravity.
Gravity. And
And
then
then, no, it all
okay.
makes sense to me. And I like that there's more drive and it feels like, yeah, like I like that you were like, oh, like I don't know, like does it make sense if I'm going up? And I'm like, yes, of course. Like it's juxtaposition. It's perfect.
Stop. Okay. What? Yeah. Let's do the bottom to top first.
Key to balance and escape from cycle. The
I can go a
voice
little faster.
faster. All right. Well, I'll pick it up from I guess gravity lives within myself and holds my.
Okay, yeah, let's go from there.
No, I get the message because like yeah, the first part is very grounded, like, and the second part is complete, not completely different, but like there are hints exactly what we talked about last meeting, where there are hints from like the first part that you just pulled and just kind of like reworked a little bit, like the hand motions and stuff, and like
Yeah.
it definitely like it's all coming together, which must be very cool to see on your end because it's cool to see from my end. So
Yeah. Yay. From gravity onwards, like you almost like you don't have to wait for me to do it before you say it. Like
okay,
I'm not trying to like match it to an exact word, but more so just like as that line is happening, then that movement happens. So even if it's not like ocean, like it's like an ocean or
gravity. Like an ocean's waves drawn to one single truth, my life a whirlwind symphony of motions. In hindsight, one sees a humbling sequence. I rise each morning and fall in the night. What goes around comes around. I can hear this within my heart. You won't persuade me that I am a prisoner to gravity.
that was
Kind of
really good.
carries
It
the
felt really good too. So in terms of like the flow, yeah, like if I don't stop, it's a little bit easier.
I'm getting the feeling of like how I should deliver it, especially. So I can't wait to like re-record it because it feels weird because we haven't had time to practice like in person. So it's like, are we really ready? And then I'm like, I think we are because we literally covered all the bases. Like, oh my god, we're already here. Like we're filming. So
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much. And I will see you on Wednesday.
see you Wednesday. Have a good day, Joyce.
Dun dun dun, just kidding. So, a few days after this meeting, we found out that there were going to be new COVID restrictions, so the theater had to cancel on us. The company that I had planned on renting the 360 camera from also didn't have the camera available anymore because it broke and they weren't going to fix it. So, yay!
So like at the very beginning, from I am prisoner to gravity, once you say gravity lives within myself, that's when I'll come into the space for the first time. And I'll just kind of
Mhm.
like be in the space and like echoing your moves. And then when we hit gravity lives within myself and holds my freedom, we will both do that in unison. And then
Mhm.
when we say gravity lives within myself, holds my freedom, and start going back up, we will be in unison until you say gravity, or it says gravity lives within myself. And then I will just kind of like go back out because you finally
Okay.
acknowledge that gravity is with you and that you're not allowing it to control you, but you're not pushing it too far away. And I
Yeah.
think it'll be cool. I think it's cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I get to dance
Great.
with you now. So
Yeah.
it'll be really cool to see because if we're mirroring each other, then they're forced to try to see. And then they'll be thinking to themselves, if they don't get the piece, they'll be like, oh, are they doing it at the same time? Oh, he's
Yeah.
kind of behind her. So if they watch you do like the grab, then like a second later, I do the same thing. And then
Yeah.
like when the poem is reversed and they're like, oh, didn't I already hear this? Oh, it's a reverse. They're just reading it backwards, but it means something else. And
Yeah.
they're dancing at the same time, but we have to like scroll around. So we're really utilizing, I think this is actually a lot cooler because we're utilizing the tools that we have.
So, this is the room that I ended up filming in. It's not that big. This was supposed to be a student hangout loungy area. We just kind of cleared everything out in here. Kids never got to use it, so tripod goes right in the middle of the room. There's the camera. And yeah, this is it. This is where we're gonna film today.
In my heart. What goes around comes around. I rise and shall fall.
Sorry. Yeah.
In hindsight, one sees the humble secrets. My life is wildness.
No, I ran into the wall.
Oh my god.
No, I'm fine. I'm fine. I just have no like spatial awareness.
Gravity as when the rain falls after a better storm. A new vision established, a petrified love. We had been dancing with the midnight sun, blood, many
I think we're good.